As a running coach and as a runner, I love my running watch. However, also as a coach, I see many downsides to runners utilizing their running watches and getting very anxious around the stats that they get and how they interpret those stats. And the end result being that they have their running watch running them instead of them running their running watch. Or put another way, they don't use their running watch unfortunately uses them. Like any tool, running watches are a little bit of a double-sided sword. You've got the situation where they can be very, very motivational, they're great for tracking stats, all this good stuff. And I mean, they wouldn't have the market they have. I think by 2028, the market for running watches is going to be a whopping $17.5 billion. So they're doing something right. But it's not always the tool that's the problem. It's our reliance or over-reliance on the tool, or the way that we interpret the tool, that becomes a problem. And that's what I want to look at next. It's not downing the running watch, but saying to you the things that you should be aware of as a runner, the things maybe you should ignore or perhaps interpret differently. So like I said earlier, you're using your running watch, but your running watch isn't using you. So what are the downsides with running watches? Well, like I say, there is no downside with a running watch, just the way that we use them. So I'll give you an example. In the later part of 2022, I decided that I was going to take a bit of an off season, so I was going to work on my speed work. So while I was doing that, my overall fitness was coming down. So my watch was telling my VO2 max was coming down. My watch was telling me that I wasn't hitting the heights I had been, and generally it was having a bit of a hissy fit. Now that was fine because I understood that the watch didn't know why I was doing a thing. It knew what I was doing, but it didn't know why I was doing it. And once you understand that, then you can stand back and realize that you cannot make your running watch your running coach. It can give you stats, it can give you things of interest, but you can't be totally reliant on it. If you do, it will run you in circles, because at the end of the day, no athlete of any level is always going to be at their peak all the time. Now look, as a runner, you're on a journey. So you start you have a goal. Now, really what a goal is a problem to be solved. That's what a goal is. Then you have a training plan, and that is a process to take you from your goal, from where you want to be, to your goal. Now, in the immortal words of my kids, what tends to be happening with runners is they're asking constantly to themselves, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Am I there yet? The running watch can increase the anxiety around this, because it's often telling you that you're not there yet. Well, you won't be, because you haven't solved the problem, so to speak, in your training. Look, airline pilots are supposedly, I think, off target from their destination for about 70% of the time. But they use technology to make small micro adjustments to keep them on track. That's a good use of technology to make sure they arrive at their destination. What won't help is if you use your running watch technology in the respect that every time it tells you you're detraining, or the fact that your VO2 max drops, you go into a wild panic, because sometimes it will drop. Sometimes you will be taking a step back to take a step forward. So how can you get the best from your running watch? So how can you get the best from your running watch? And let's be clear, as I said before, I love my running watch, and they can be very motivational. They're good for knowing your pace, your distance, and they don't make a bad fist of VO2 max. I'm not saying that they're accurate for your VO2 max, but once they've got a benchmark of where you are, they can kind of give you a rough ballpark of, if it's going up or if it's going down. As I said earlier, it's how it's interpreted. So what do I do with my runners and myself when I run? Well, what I do is I predominantly train running to feel, to effort. Your body is the best indicator of what you're going to be doing. Your watch can be telling you that you're in a zone 2 and running at a certain pace, but it doesn't know if you're running up a hill. It doesn't know if you're running against the wind. It doesn't know if you're unwell. Your body does. So what I tend to do is encourage my runners to run to feel, then use a secondary metric. So if they're doing their easy runs, then maybe use heart rate. But by the way, if you're not using a strap and you're just using your watch, forget heart rate. But that aside, for easier runs, speed work, then obviously utilizing pace, but still again, the primary metric is running to how you feel. Now, the funny thing is with the people I coach, probably the first 5 to 6 weeks, it's like weaning somebody off a drug. People keep coming back and saying their watches are saying this, watches are saying that. And I keep saying, well, how did you feel? And it's like silence for a little while because people aren't running to feel. Now, as I've said earlier, this is not some rampage against using a running watch. I love my running watch, but as I said earlier, if it's using you and you're not using it, then you're going to get yourself into a right pickle. Because as I said earlier, I have situations where I don't wear my chest strap for when I'm running. The watch thinks I'm having a heart attack. And it's telling me I've hit a new threshold high. And as I said earlier, the reason for this is it knows what you're doing. It doesn't know why. I know why, because I took the chest strap off. So I know to ignore that data. So you might think that's pretty obvious, but what are the scenarios for you where you are getting demotivated or feeling like you're not progressing because what your running watch is telling you? Versus listening to your body when you're doing an easy run, how does it feel? And utilizing your zones 1 to 5, and to be fair, this is another video in itself, but 1 to 5 from sort of easy running to running the hardest you can to feel. Then use your watch as your secondary metric, use it for distance and things like that. Then you're not going to be so worried if your VO2 max drops, if you start a new training plan, which may be taking you a step back to take a step forward. And it stops you from getting into the "are we there yet" scenarios and much more into your running, more in the moment. Hopefully this video's helped. As I say, in conclusion, running watches are great when you utilize them. They are not so great when you are run literally by your running watch. If you've enjoyed this video, please give the video a like or subscribe to the channel, and hope to speak to you really soon. Bye for now.